So we have here Alex Martel. You're a concert promoter, festival promoter for such events as the Montebello Rockfest, as well as you're the frontman of the band Deadly. So how are things going on your end through these crazy times?
I'm doing good. I guess it's been kind of an odd year for a lot of people, but just gotta keep moving forward.
Yeah. So I know this year, much like everyone else, the Rockfest obviously took a year off, much like everyone else did. So how have you adapted to the current times in terms of, obviously no festival, you're obviously not making money off of that. So how have you adapted to the times? Did you try to do like a virtual fest like some of the other people did, or what alternate things did you do this year?
Well, basically, last year in 2019, we had a smaller version of the festival that was called Montebello Rock. It was kind of a back to the basics type event, and we actually wanted to bring back the festival with the name Rockfest for 2020. And right when this pandemic started, we were like just about to announce it and go on sale, and then that happened. So I guess the good thing on our end was that we didn't have to deal with fans asking for refunds and that sort of thing. And we did have some expenses that were already engaged, some money that was already spent, but it was probably minor compared to some other festivals, including some who had to send like massive deposits to artists or suppliers or whatever. So I guess we were kind of lucky in that sense. But at the same time, the fact that we hadn't gone on sale yet meant that we didn't have, pretty much, we had no cash flow basically. So I know lots of other festivals, that despite the request for refunds, I know that a lot of fans decided to hold on to their tickets. So at least, those festivals were able to hold on to that money and use it as cash flow to survive 2020. So that wasn't our case.
Yeah.
So basically, what we ended up doing was we did a merch store of new Rockfest merch in the spring, maybe a month or 2 months after the pandemic started and everything started shutting down here. And then in June, on what used to be usually the dates of the festival, we decided to put together a virtual Rockfest. And cool. It was kind of a crazy idea. Like basically we used mostly footage from all the archives that we had.
Okay.
And we basically tried to recreate an entire edition of the festival in real time. So, it started, on the first night with the fans, going on a road trip, arriving in Montebello, setting up their campground and then walking around town. For those who don't know Rockfest, it was as much about the vibe and the experience as it was the music, because Montebello is a small town in the middle of nowhere, 900 people living here. And then we had thousands upon thousands of punks and metal heads and everything in between, just kind of taking over town, which created this really amazing and unique party vibe, where everyone's friendly. And I guess the best description that someone gave me, it was kind of like a punk and metal Woodstock, basically. That's what it was every year. So we kind of tried to focus on that aspect of it, So it was mostly aimed towards the diehard Rockfest fans that came for years, regardless of who was playing.
Yeah.
Because lots of festivals were doing. We're like live streaming full shows of past editions, and I kind of felt like you can get that stuff for free on YouTube as much as you want. So
Yeah.
we just wanted to focus more on the actual experience. And actually, at that point in Quebec, they had allowed gatherings of 10 people.
Okay.
So the concept was that lots of festival goers would like get their ticket for the virtual rock fest, and then afterwards they would invite their rockfest buddies in their backyards, set up the big screen TV on the deck, and just have kind of their own mini festival in their backyards, which was pretty cool. I mean, obviously it has nothing to do with the real festival experience, but we figured might as well do something. And I mean, it was okay. I mean, it was a lot of work for the money that it ended up bringing in, but at least it helped us to cover some of the expenses that we had already spent for a 2020 edition that ended up not happening because of what's happened. So but yeah, that's pretty much what we did on our end for this year in terms of the festival.
Okay. I know there's a lot of talk about, I guess, like the US and the UK they're trying to get government in terms of the live and like the live sector are hurting. So do you know if the Canadian government has helped you guys in any way? Have you guys gotten any kind of federal money from them in terms of helping you guys or any of the other live promoters around Canada, as far as you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few different things. In terms of festivals specifically, most festivals that were already receiving grants in past years on an annual base from the I guess mostly the provincial government, but also the federal government. Most of them were able to get those grants this year, even if they didn't hold an actual event.
Okay.
So that was obviously a great help. But the issue, I guess, was for newer festivals. So basically, since we had pretty much started over in 2019, as I mentioned, with a smaller festival and the new organization, technically 2020 would have been the second year, even though we've done the festival for nearly 15 years. So most of those grants, you have to hold 2 editions before you become eligible. So it wasn't our case yet. We had, this year 2020 was supposed to be the second edition, and then for 2021 we would have been eligible. So we didn't get anything from the Quebec or the Canadian government in terms of the specific grants for festivals. And I know lots of smaller and newer festivals had that same issue, but at least the bigger ones are the ones that have been around for many years. They managed to get that help. But aside from that, there's been different programs, some that we've been able to use on our end, and there's been general programs to help businesses throughout Canada. Like, there's a program with a loan that most businesses have access to. And if the loan is paid back by a certain date, basically you get to keep part of the amount. There's also been another program from the federal government, basically helping with paying employees. So if businesses can prove that, you know, they lost X percentage of their revenue compared to the previous year on the same month, or compared to the past few months, there's like different ways to make the calculations.
Okay.
So basically they help cover some of the pays of employees for businesses.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, obviously it's hard, I guess, for lots of different businesses.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just thinking of restaurants and bars and you know, obviously with festivals and I guess the music industry as a whole, you know, and artists who can't go on tour, you know, it's definitely been a big hit for lots of people. But I must say that, you know, we're probably lucky in Canada. There's I would guess from what I've seen that you know, there's been more help for artists and people in the
Yeah.
music industry in general than other countries. So you know,
Yeah.
I guess we can't complain in Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we just got. I think the U.S. one just passed literally today. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the one they're fighting. I think that was the COVID-19 bill that they were talking about, and they were in Washington. But I think that just got passed today, so we'll see how it goes from here. So, but
Yeah.
yeah. So do you have plans for like I know most likely a 2021, like a physical one, may or may not happen depending on how it goes during the summertime. But are you planning towards a physical one, or are you just gonna think of it like 2021 probably won't happen and you're just gonna move ahead with some sort of a virtual one again? Or
I mean, I guess no one really knows, and some people seem more optimistic than others, and with
Mhm.
the vaccines and everything. I mean, you know, for now, I'm just kind of like taking a seat back and just kind of looking how everything unfolds. But
Mhm.
I'm just not I'm not counting on 2021. You know, I
Yeah.
personally don't think it's realistic,
Yeah.
at least for June. You know, in our case, it's always been in June.
Mhm.
You know, perhaps later in the year, and I know it's just so hard to tell.
Yeah.
Most festivals here that I've been talking to, they're basically planning. You know, they're doing like Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, Plan D,
Yeah.
and you know, I guess. Uh, I guess some festivals that, you know, as I mentioned earlier, the festivals that went on sale before the pandemic,
Mhm.
um, and got to hold on to most of the money from fans.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they kind of have to sound optimistic, and they have
Yeah.
to announce lineups, and because if they don't do that, then I guess, you know, they're just opening the door for more refund requests, which won't
Yeah.
help them. So I mean, I understand the fact that some of them are probably publicly more optimistic than they are privately, I would assume.
Yeah.
But you know, perhaps they're right, and you know, it's going to be fine or with restrictions. But you know, I feel like specifically looking at the type of music that we do, which is, you know, rock, punk, metal, um, you know, shows that, you know, involve mosh pits and
Yeah.
crowd surfing and that sort of thing. I kind of feel like it's pretty much inevitable that that's going to be the last thing allowed. You know, like
Yeah.
I can imagine, you know, like some other types of music perhaps that, you know, you have to be seated or you have to be like separated and that sort of thing. But you know, I have a hard time imagining, you know, a metal crowd or a punk rock crowd, you know, having to experience it that way.
Yeah.
So you know, it's really hard to tell. I kind of feel like, at least in Quebec, you know, they're probably gonna allow smaller capacities and stuff.
Okay.
So, you know, some festivals might do hybrid versions, like a smaller capacity, and also have it live streamed. So, you know, for now, I'm just not planning anything because it's just like too much of a risk. And I've been focusing on other projects for now that, you know,
Okay.
basically don't have anything to do with music.
Okay.
And other passions that I have. So that I kind of feel like it's a good time to, you know, reinvent yourself and try new things. And that's pretty much what I've been focusing on. But
Oh,
hey,
cool.
if there's a miracle, and you know, we're somehow allowed to do something small that, you know, isn't a big financial risk and can just be something fun that makes the festival goers happy, then, you know, I mean, I'm open to the idea. So we'll see.
Okay. You were mentioning you're exploring other options. So anything you can publicly share at the moment, or?
You mean in terms of other projects?
Yeah.
Well, but basically, I've been a fan of mountain biking my whole life,
Okay.
and Montebello actually has a big history of mountain biking. There
Oh,
used to
nice.
be like big competitions in the 80s and 90s, and um, basically the 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 trail system was you know, was still being taken care of until the mid 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
and then they built the freeways, and so, you know, it kind of got abandoned.
Okay.
But in the past 10 years, mountain biking has just pretty much exploded in popularity, and especially this year with the pandemic, you know, people, at least here in Quebec and in Canada, I guess in general, you know, people want to go out, and, you know, mountain biking just went through the roof. So, you know, I've just spent months kind of by myself in the middle of the woods, just trying to find those abandoned trails again, and mark them on my GPS. And, uh, you know, and I got lots of people involved because I don't want this to be like, you know, a one man thing like it's been for Rockfest for the most part. And so yeah, that's what I've been working on
Oh,
a
nice.
lot. You know, basically opening a mountain bike center in Montebello, because I really think it's a good timing for that. And it's a lot less stressful than putting together a festival, you know, and all
Yeah.
the financial risk that's involved, which was there, you know, long before the pandemic. And, you know, needless to say that the pandemic, you know, just made everything kind of more uncertain.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've been focusing on that, and also we've been working on the new Deadly Apples album, so
Okay.
that's coming along pretty well.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, we're still kind of you know, standing by to see what happens, because we were supposed to do a European tour in the summer of 2020. So like, you know, Hellfest, Resurrection Fest, Rock for People, Copenhagen, and obviously none of those happened. So they've all been pushed back to
Oh,
the